Andrea Shaw has played a big role, do you think?
Yes, Andrea Shaw is a great ambassador for female bodybuilding. She's actually what female bodybuilding is all about. She was that time, she wasn't as dedicated with, a lot of things as, because I told her after that, I said, I will only do this again if you promise me to stick to everything that you're supposed to do, because you're not doing this for me, you're doing this for yourself.
Athletes and fans around the world, welcome to another episode of Primetime Muscle. I'm Tim Wilkins, joined to my right by Tarek El-Guindy from around the world. Where have you come from?
Oh, God, I've been everywhere. I've been to Alabama. I've been to Canada. I've been to Mexico. It's been a great season so far.
Well, you haven't been put on the no-fly list, so you got a lot of shows coming up this year. But over my shoulder, it's almost gotten weird how I'm facing away. There he is. We are so lucky again this week to be joined by Dennis James.
Last week was a blast. People love it on the comments. They go like, I can't believe you guys can bring any other guest after Dennis. So, hey, Dennis James back for everybody.
Thank you guys for bringing me back. I didn't know I qualified for another episode.
Well, we don't have that high standards.
As you can tell.
We started with Chris.
I didn't know I passed the test.
Come on, Chris is traveling. He's in Dubai, so we'll have him back eventually. But it's been nice to have some of the top guests in bodybuilding.
Continuing our Icons on the Set series, you are an icon. Here's our set, so here you are.
Yeah, I love it. I love it here. Great set. Great opportunity, and of course, it's great for the listeners.
Well, we've just moved up from no ankle monitor to Icons. That was a big jump for us. So you've got your shows all over the world, all over Germany, and then the Menace podcast has been a force for how many years?
It's been going on 4, because I did it by myself the first year with 2 episodes a week, and now the Old School Roundtable for almost 3 years. Yeah, it's just something I always wanted to do because, and for me, the Old School Roundtable was created because I wanted to do something like more casual, not like we're in the studio. There's cameras. I wanted to have the same conversation we would have if we would sit in a cafe Saturday afternoon drinking coffee and talking about everything, without no cameras, and that's the kind of feeling that I want.
And you built that over time, and yes, that's what it is.
Yes.
Congratulations. So this is our thing, and this is our thing now with you here. One of the things that's been amazing the last few years in the sport, since Jake Wood took the helm, he's a huge fan and a supporter of women's bodybuilding. And it wasn't on the main stage at the Olympia. It's back. The Rising Phoenix is getting bigger and better than ever. So I really feel like we're seeing that resurgence of women's bodybuilding, and having that icon at the top right now in Andrea Shaw has played a big role, do you think?
Yes, Andrea Shaw is a great ambassador for female bodybuilding. She's actually what female bodybuilding is all about. She has the femininity. She is very outspoken. She is great with fans, and she has a great physique that always helps.
I agree with Dennis, and I think it's key what he said. His first word was femininity. Andrea Shaw is pretty. Andrea Shaw is beautiful. I'm not afraid. She's a friend of mine, so I can say this. Andrea Shaw is hot. People think she's hot. Other girls think she's hot. My wife says, oh my God, I want to have Andrea Shaw's butt. I think she's so hot. That's important to sell the sport. That is important. If your women's bodybuilding champion was not attractive, she wasn't, a great ambassador, she didn't have other girls looking up to her, women's bodybuilding would not be popular. So we benefit tremendously from somebody who's attractive, who's a great ambassador, and who other girls look up to. If you look at bikini, why bikini is so popular? It's because I talk to the NPC girls. And they go, I want to be like Laura Lee Chapados. That's important. People want to be like Andrea Shaw.
Well, and it's an interesting thing that the evolution of the entire sport. When you talk about, open bodybuilding, going from the Arnold years to as we've grown to the Lee Haney years, to the Ronnie years, and there's been that evolution of physique. And then you go back to women's bodybuilding, and you're talking way back in the Sharon Bruno type years, and then to Corey Everson, and then to Lenda. And then we had those few middle years with Iris Kyle, with what, she's 10 Olympias?
10 Olympias.
10 Olympias. And then to Andrea, it's evolved, but now it's kind of found a sweet spot with Andrea where it's not maybe so extreme.
Well, again, guys, let's get down to business here, okay? Look at this. Look at this.
Oh, here she goes.
Put the camera on Dennis James, okay? Right here. Right here. We got the camera.
It's my friend.
She's got the pink.
It's my friend.
Right? Feminine. She's got the pink. Look at that smile. It's a beautiful smile. She doesn't have the big jaws, right? She doesn't look like Akin Albridge, off season. Okay? She doesn't talk like an offensive line for the Chargers. She has a beautiful feminine look. The lipstick, the eyes, everything. Look at the biceps. It's not monster. It's not something that's disturbing. She looks good. She looks attractive, and that is important. Should we keep her right here next to Dennis, Nico? Yeah. Right here. Look, she looks good. She's hot, and that is important. And I mean, again, she was at the Mutant. We give a shout out to Mutant, one of our big sponsors, and she was at FIBO, and somebody is calling me from FIBO and saying, guys, I think Andrea Shaw is the best ambassador. Everybody that goes to talk to her, they love her afterwards.
Yeah.
That's important.
Especially, I went so far last year, and I even brought her to Germany to guest pose at one of my biggest shows in Germany as a female Miss Olympia. I said, why always bring the guys out? Bring out a female because the fans loved her. She came out, she was backstage, she was literally back there for hours just talking to the competitors, because you could see they looked up to her, and she was there, she shook everybody's hand, took pictures with everybody, and that is what I consider a great ambassador of the sport, and we need those people.
Well, we definitely need it within women's bodybuilding. You've seen the growth of bikini, and then some of the bikini girls have outgrown or moved into figure. You've got some of the fitness competitors moving back into figure, like Missy Truscott. And then there's that next sweet spot that has continued to grow of women's physique. Mm-hmm. So, and I love when competitors go from like a Logan Franklin, will go from men's physique to classic to open. They don't have a choice because their bodies kind of guide them there. I like the women matriculating up according to where their bodies put it. And I like the fact that women's bodybuilding is having that resurgence to give them that place to grow into if that's where their body wants to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if it's the body that wants to go there or if it's the person that wants to push the body to go there. So, yeah, I mean, they have a lot of opportunities. It starts now with fit model. We have fit model, bikini, figure, physique, and then women bodybuilding. And if you compare women's bodybuilding with the 80s and the 90s, that would be figure today, just posing instead of just doing their quarter turns. So, yes, I mean, it's important to have people like Andrea and even Angela Yeo and some of the other competitors to go out there and represent for the females for women bodybuilding.
Natalia Kovaleva has a huge following on Instagram. Ashley Jones, man, she looks so good in New York. And out of all the females, Andrea Shaw is the one that has made more money. Let's talk about money, cash, okay? Andrea Shaw has won the Olympia 5 times. That's $250,000. She won the Wings of Strength Rising Phoenix 4 times, if I'm not mistaken. That's an additional $200,000.
And cars.
A few years, they combined and they gave cars. So she's got about 3 or 4 cars in her garage right now. So she's got the Mutant. I don't know how much they pay her monthly, but, she makes money. She's getting close to $1 million. So if you are a female competitor and you want to make a lot of money, maybe female bodybuilding is the most profitable one.
Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the competition that she may have this year. It's one of those cool things. You talk about peaking as men and goaling for one show, but the Rising Phoenix has become such a figurehead for women's bodybuilding that it's kind of a trade-off. And then it's so close to the Olympia they just try to carry that peak. So how much competition is she going to have this year at the Rising Phoenix and at the Olympia, which shook things up last year? We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about what her legacy might be now as she comes in on Lenda Murray's title record. We're going to do all that when we come back on Primetime Muscle.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Weider, Olympia Finals, start now!
And we are back, and we're still covering some women's bodybuilding, which really, this is the only show, by the way, that we know of that covers all the divisions.
Right.
And we're very proud of that. Women's bodybuilding making a resurgence, and really on the leadership of Andrea Shaw winning. Whoever wins that year is kind of the gold standard for who's going to be judged that year. We're starting to look at her legacy, though, with 5 wins. Where's this going? The next part of a legacy is the iconic Lenda Murray. And then, of course, Iris Kyle with 10. So she's at 5. Will she go to 8? And then will she go to 10? So first up on that is she the next Lenda Murray?
No,
Oh,
she's not. And I'm going to explain you why. Iris Kyle, despite winning 10, was not the next Lenda Murray. Andrea Shaw will not be the next Lenda Murray. The reason is not because they're not fantastic. You might argue that Iris was a better competitor than Lenda Murray because she won more. It's just that Lenda Murray is the pioneer of female bodybuilding. She's the one that promoted the sport for women better than anybody. Prior to her, we had some champions, right? But she was the one that said, hey, I'm here. Women can be here. We can make money. When I was growing up in Brazil, 1994, I had pictures of all the great competitors. I had pictures of Dorian Yates, Lee Haney, Arnold, Lou Ferrigno. You know, the owner of the gym would rip from the magazines and put it on the walls. There was only one picture of a woman, and that was Lenda Murray.
I totally agree. Lenda Murray was the one that paved the way for every other champion after her. She was there for 8 years. And the great Chris Cormier even copied a pose from Lenda Murray that on stage, that front double biceps on your tippy toes. That's what Chris basically stole from Lenda Murray. So,
Wow.
yes, all praise to Lenda
He
for
never admitted that
no,
on the
but
show.
he's just been ratted out.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's take a
Yes.
look at this video from her last Olympia. And
that. Oh, I'm sorry, Andrea. Oops.
Oh, calm down, Dennis. Gee, Dennis, calm down. I told you she's attractive.
Yes.
now we'll talk about this in a minute, but this was great. And this just shows what a champion she is. She had just lost the Rising Phoenix. Is he wrestling with Lenda behind our backs?
I don't know what he's doing.
How about
man.
just- we just had
Calm
a-
down, man. Give him some water.
So we're going to run this, but it is interesting to see. So she had just lost the Rising Phoenix.
She was so pissed.
So pissed.
She was so
never
mad.
left Phoenix. She stayed here and worked out with Damien until she got back and won that title back and kept her title. So you want to pop in here and walk us through her positive attributes?
Well, definitely the time from between the Rising Phoenix and the Olympia did exactly what she needed to. She understood, if I'm not on, I can't get beat, and it's even by a girl that's way smaller than her, which usually can never happen if Andrea would be on top of her game. So she came back to the Olympia. You could see in her face she was very, very confident. She knew she was back, and she knew she was going for her 5th title.
You know, I'm going to add to what Dennis said, and this is what I think is so important. You look at her, and she is pretty. She is beautiful. I think that's so important in the sport that we have, right? It's a visual sport. And if you look at Andrea Shaw, you know, you can't really say that conversation. Oh, women with muscles, they look so masculine. She looks gorgeous. She looks attractive. Her posing is gracious, right? There's no glaring weakness. You can't tell me her legs are too small. Oh, the arms are too big. Her facial expressions are pretty. This is so vital for us to keep women's bodybuilding alive. And she is the best ambassador we can have. I love what she does.
The balance, the symmetry, the lines, they're all statuesque. They're all that, she's got all the things that you say, okay, I wish I had rounded, capped, striated delts with a big separation between the bis and tris. That's Andrea. You see that side chest as she's coming up here from this side position where you want to see that beautiful hang in the hamstrings and the flare of the quad. She's got that. And she poses it all like someone is creating a statue at every stage of the pose. The peak on that bicep is insane. And there's so many times, I always joke and say, if I had that, I would have gone pro 2 years ago.
Yeah.
If I had that, I would have been pro 3 years ago.
Also, what stands out to me when she poses, she's a bodybuilder, but she poses like a woman. You can tell the difference in her posing, that this is not a man, even though a lot of people will say, oh, she got the body looks like a dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But she poses like a woman. Everything about this is feminine, and I can only applaud her for that.
She is incredible. I love the symmetry. Everything is in the right place. I'll tell you guys a story. She won the Rising Phoenix a few years back, and then we had a party at the lounge at the hotel. And everybody was dressed up, right? And she came in and she was wearing a beautiful dress. And I remember because my wife was right next to me and she just shut down the whole place, right? Hey, no, the bartenders, they didn't know she was Miss Olympia, but everybody was looking at her in that dress and she looked so beautiful. It's important. People loved, I talked to people that said, Chris Bumstead is the hottest guy I've ever seen. There's dudes that go, Laura Lee Chapato, I love her. She's so hot. In our sport, this is what we do. We have people that look fantastic, that look attractive. And Andrea Shaw is that for women's bodybuilding. And I think this is a huge message for everybody. Let's keep it this way.
Well, I like how you said that she won't be, the only reason she's not going to be the next Lenda Murray is because there's only going to be one. She can match her title. She can get those 10 titles and match Iris Kyle. But there's only one pioneer, like Arnold for the men, where he's still iconic, but the physiques have evolved so much over time. And you can say, oh, well, she's so much bigger or better or different than Lenda, but Lenda paved the way. So we're going to be able to say at some point maybe, will somebody be the next Andrea Shaw? And we'll be able to look back and say, no, there was only one.
Right. I agree. Nobody came. There's no second Lenda. There won't be another Iris Kyle, and there will never be another Andrea Shaw.
I think that certain things in bodybuilding are just plain factual. Nobody can dispute. The greatest bodybuilding contest in the world is the Mr. Olympia. Started in 1965. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dorian Yates, Lee Haney, Ronnie Coleman. Nobody can dispute that. The greatest male icon in our sport is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nobody can dispute that. You can win more titles than him at the Olympia, but what he has done outside of bodybuilding, becoming one of the greatest actors, the governor, what he does still now, and the greatest female is Lenda Murray. Now, I'm also going to add something to that. The greatest social media megastar was Chris Bumstead. We're going to be talking 30, 40 years about who was the guy that was the megastar when social media started, and it was C-Bum. He brought a lot of people to our sport.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it came out of nowhere in no time, and people still jumping on the ship. And I think that was great for not only the sport, that was great for classic physique. And I think that we have a lot of people in classic right now because of Chris Bumstead. And also the eyeballs. So it was great, and I hope that we have another guy like him in the future.
You know how I know that's definitely true as an MC? You watch the division grow but you watch the number of bad mustaches in classic physique and you say, you're not here because you like the posing.
Yeah.
You want to be Chris Bumstead so bad you can't stand it.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree. I've judged plenty of mustaches in my life now.
Well, we are excited to see what, with the resurgence of bodybuilding, we're also, you mentioned Ashley Jones a minute ago, the new faces that are rising to the top as the former generation starts to retire with people like Margie Martin who have stepped down, but you got the new ones coming up, and then next year we're going to talk about in a minute, this coming Olympia, Angie Yo, who shocked the bodybuilding world last year with the Rising Phoenix, and what she's going to bring to this year's Olympia, and who of the Natalias and Anastasias might jumble things up as well. So we'll do that when we come back in just a minute. All right, we're back, and we're talking about women's bodybuilding. There was an upset last year, guys, that threw a monkey wrench in the whole system. Sent all the gears clanking together. That was the Rising Phoenix, where Angie Yo showed up super conditioned. Andrea Shaw showed up, I don't want to say complacent, but not ready for someone to come knocking like that.
Yeah, I was there. I watched it live, and I immediately, as soon as they walked out, I said, she's in trouble. And I think that Andrea, after winning 4 Rising Phoenix and 4 Olympias, I think she got a little too comfortable. And I had conversations with her, and you know, private conversations, where I told her, I said, listen, you don't even have competition. As long as you're in shape, you don't have this. Anybody, I'm not saying these girls are not great. I'm just saying she's so far ahead, if she's on, that right now, I said, there's nobody in that lineup that can beat you unless you come in off. And she agreed, you know, and that's exactly what happened at the Rising Phoenix last year. She was off. She was still good, I mean, but she was not, but Yayo was so conditioned, and she was improved from the year before. She had, the waist looked like it was tighter.
Yeah.
She just looked overall bigger, and she was the better girl that day.
Did you judge that show, or did Sandy?
No, the judges were Becky Clausen, Becca from Tennessee.
Sizemore.
Michelle Mayberry was there.
Wow.
So Sandy was in Japan. Becky Clausen was the head judge. Becky, one of the best judges we have. And man, it was tough. It was a battle. I agree with Dennis. If Andrea Shaw is in shape, it's very hard to beat her. She wasn't at her best. Angela Yo came in at her all-time best. Her conditioning was impeccable. But there was something else. We always talked about Angela Yo being the best one in conditioning. She didn't have the size to go against some of these girls. And her lines were not very favorable. She grew her legs. She grew her back. And with her conditioning, it made her shape better. That was something that a lot of people didn't realize. It wasn't just the conditioning. Was she as good as Andrea Shaw on the shape department? No, she wasn't. But she got closer.
I'm going to duck out of this real quick, but I'm going to come back because Tarek loves to put our careers on the line and make us take a stand on something. Tarek, is Becky Clausen the next Sandy Williamson?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I don't. Listen, guys, here's the bottom line. I don't have a problem saying stuff that's true. Sandy Williamson was the greatest female judge we've ever had in the IFBB Pro League. But Becky Clausen is now the next coming. She's judged internationally. I judged with her in Florida 6-7 years ago. What she does in the internet is impeccable. She's so motivating, and I'm saying it right here.
Okay, so back to the women's bodybuilding and who is going to be competition for Andrea Shaw. You know she's bringing her best conditioning, but you have special insight into someone who's been growing and putting in huge gains.
Yeah. Well, yeah, before we get to that, let me just talk that Angela and Ashley both are fierce competitors. And we have not seen Ashley in shape yet. She has, for me, one of the best lines in female bodybuilding. She's a shorter, smaller girl, but she was never really spot on. So I think if she manages to be spot on at the show, I think it's going to be much closer than it was last year.
She's an X-frame we haven't seen in a long time in men's or women's.
Unbelievable lines on a female. So, and Angela, she can only do what she did at the Rising Phoenix. She can come in, make sure she nails the condition, and hope that Andrea would be off. Now, how can Angela even lose if she's on? There's only one chance if you have someone who's bigger than her. That's nobody that's smaller than Andrea can beat Andrea because it is bodybuilding. We're not talking women physique. We're not talking figure. This is bodybuilding. So if someone who comes in bigger, and because Andrea is never the most conditioned girl. She's just so good that she doesn't need to be 100% when it comes to condition and dryness. But there's one girl, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I said, if there is a girl that can beat Andrea, I think it's got to be someone like Natalia, who's bigger.
Yeah.
And who is much improved from her last outing. I don't know, the last time you saw her was at the Olympia, which I don't even agree with what she looked like on that day, but she qualified for the Olympia two years ago by winning the New York Pro, which was her best look at the time.
And you say between then and now, her look at the New York Pro.
It's a different competitor.
Well, do you have pictures? Do you have some updates on your phone?
I don't.
You do. You just don't want to show us right now.
I promise you I don't have any pictures. I don't take pictures of other females and my wife. So that's a deal that we have at the house. There's no pictures on my phone from other women. But I see her every day.
Let's give a hint to a great scape here. Great scape. Wow.
I see her every day because I train her every day, Monday through Saturday.
Wow.
So, and right now, my goal was after, for me, a very disappointing Olympia. She was that time, she wasn't as dedicated with, a lot of things as, because I told her after that, I said, I will only do this again if you promise me to stick to everything that you're supposed to do, because you're not doing this for me, you're doing this for yourself. And I said, we're going to take 1 year to make improvements, especially in the back and the quads. And I said, the next time we start a contest diet, you need to be looking like a bodybuilder that's getting ready for a show. You can't be off and then start a contest diet and hopefully we'll dial it in the last 12 to 16 weeks.
Yeah.
So I said, that was I said, do this or it's not going to work. Now, my wife is prepping the meals, so I know what she eats. She does not cook by herself. My wife preps her food every day.
Did she cook for you in your competition years?
Yes,
Your wife? Okay.
she still cooks for me.
When is she competing to earn her qualification?
Okay, so the goal is right now, because I got to explain to you the situation. Normally, she would, of course, do the Rising Phoenix, which is the last qualifier before the Olympia. And I said to her a few months ago, I said, listen, I have good news and I have bad news. She wanted the bad news first. I said, the bad news is I cannot be here for the Rising Phoenix. I said, but the good news is I have the show the very same day in Germany, which is also the last qualifier for the 2025 Olympia.
Then you have women's bodybuilding.
I have all 10 pro categories.
Wow.
The European Championship in Germany. I have the pro qualifier September 13th, September 14th. All 10 pro categories qualifying for the Mr. Olympia. I said, so that's the good news that I can be with you. But you would have to do that show. So, of course, there's a show in Romania 2 weeks prior. So if you go to Europe, why not do Romania?
Do both.
Why not do Romania first, August 31st? So that's the goal.
Excellent. I got to ask a question real quick, Jar, at least make a comment. So there's a lot of chatter online about pro prize money. Mm-hmm. But I want to just talk to you real quick, and it doesn't have to be dollars and cents. But people don't understand, even the pros and former pros from the 90s and 2000s, how expensive it is to host a pro division, much less 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's forget prize money. You got to pay sanction fees and this and
You got to pay the sanction fees, the prize money, and you got to be able to sell tickets. It's not like what it used to be years ago, where the pros will literally confirm their participation, so I could use you in ads and could tell people such and such and such and such is competing to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Now you don't know until Monday before the show who's in the show.
Because if they're not going to be perfect, they're not going to show up.
And they have until Monday that week of the show to sign up. So now the list comes out Monday, and that's the first time the promoter sees who's in the show. So it's not like we can use these guys to advertise. So it's hard, Therefore, you don't see a lot of people putting on these great shows with the great prize money, because the bigger the guys, the bigger the sanction fee, the bigger the prize money. And if you have a open bodybuilding shows with 7-8 competitors that no one knows, I said, how do you sell tickets?
Yeah.
Well, Tim, I want to go back to Natalia Kovaleva, because we did a segment on her, and I said she is now the biggest threat to Andrea Shaw, despite not showing her best at the Olympia 2 years ago, which she did pretty well. She was on the first call out.
Yeah.
She placed well. She just didn't have a good back, and she needed to be more conditioned. I had a chance to talk to her after the show, and I congratulated her on a great showing. And I said, you looked fantastic. I tried to encourage. And she straight up looked at me and said, yes, but my back looked like shit. She's very honest, right?
Yeah.
She's very honest about what she needs to do. And I was impressed because she knew full well her weakness. She goes, my back is not good. What are we going to see, then? Are we going to see a back that's detailed, that's full? Are we going to see the conditioning that's impeccable?
You're going to see a much improved Natalia. Now, how much better she's going to be, we'll know when she's in shape. Because you know how it is. You see the size improvement, you see the thickness, but we don't know exactly what's going to be left when she's in real shape, because she's never been super peeled. But right now, I can tell you this, right now, she is better than she was 2-3 weeks before the Olympia. And she has 11 weeks for her first show.
A lot of people speculated that when she guest posed at your show, Dennis James Classic, that she was already better than when she was at the Olympia. And you were impressed by her guest posing, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's why I wanted her to guest pose, because I wanted to hold her accountable, to make sure she doesn't fall off the train and start doing things she's not supposed to do, because I know it's hard for her. When we worked for the Olympia, we trained every day. And this is how you know someone is really dedicated. She drives every day 1 hour to the gym to meet me and 1 hour back home, 6 days a week. She does it every day. And when someone doesn't really want to train, or they're going to find excuses not to come every time.
Yeah.
She's 100%. I bring the food to the gym, she takes the food home. So I think this will be the best Natalia we've ever seen. I already could see that right now. And I hope that nothing changes, the way everything's smooth and flowing right now. And if that continues to go until we get to Romania, I think you will see the best Natalia on stage. And I believe that she is the biggest threat to Andrea, and she will stand next to Andrea and hold her own, especially in the size department.
Well, that will definitely spice up the already resurging women's bodybuilding at this year's Olympia. We're going to see who's qualified and how good they look, and then back to the drawing board for the next few weeks with Dennis to dial in her very best after she qualifies. All right, Tarek, it's time. It just flies by when he's here, doesn't it?
He's a great guest. I love having Dennis here. I want to talk to you guys about BioHeat Hardcore. A lot of you guys this past summer did not look as good as you should, myself included. You need to have a thermogenic that works but doesn't freak you out. If you want to take some of these ephedra things, they're not good for your health. They're not legal. Right here, Global Formulas has created a product that speeds up your metabolism but doesn't alter your state of mind. This is the BioHeat is considered to be one of the best thermogenics. I want you to go right now to www.globalformulas.com. Go on the TK Gindi coupon to get 15% off.
There's a tiki. You have a coupon?
I have a coupon.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Dennis. Such a blast having you here. Thank you.
It's the pleasure is all mine, my man, to be right here with you guys. And I watch the show all the time, so now I know what it feels like sitting behind the desk.
It's good. It's a good place. I like it here.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
And lunch is on the way, so they take care of us.
That's another thing. I can't wait.
Derek,
He might, I mean, if Milos is not watching, he might be my favorite.
Derek, don't go there. I get 1 week. You crap on me already? Try a vacuum. Great. Folks, as always, like, subscribe, share. Stay with us on Olympia TV and check out all the great programming. The Menace Podcast. I know you're watching that, the Old School Roundtable. I'm Tim Wilkins. Thank you, as always, for joining us on Primetime Muscle.